Gentlemen, let me tell you something that most men never realize until it's too late. The very moment you stop chasing, everything changes. Not in small ways, not gradually, but instantly. In her mind, the entire story she tells herself about you flips upside down. It's not because you begged her to see your worth. It's not because you fought or argued your case. It's because you did something far more powerful. You chose silence, you chose boundaries, and above all, you chose self-respect. Think about it. Most guys, when they feel distance, panic. They send another text, another good morning message, another attempt to get her attention, and every time they hand over more of their power. But the man who can step back, who can hold his ground with calm dignity, that man becomes something different in her eyes. He becomes unreachable. And nothing unsettles a woman more than realizing she can no longer control the frame of the story. What happens inside her head in that exact moment? A storm begins. On the surface, she'll act like nothing's wrong. She'll laugh louder around friends, she'll post pictures online, she'll show the world she's living her best life. But deep down, she feels it. The absence, the shift, the loss. It rattles her more than any argument ever could, because silence has a weight that words can never carry. And here's the truth. Most men never get this far. They break the silence too quickly. They run back the second she shows indifference, erasing the very power their calmness created. But if you can hold the line, if you can choose peace over panic, you force her into a journey she cannot avoid. She will go through chaos, regret, longing, memories she can't erase, and finally, the brutal realization that she cannot replace you. So let me ask you, have you ever poured your best into someone only to feel invisible? Have you ever wondered what really happens when you finally decide enough is enough? If so, stay with me, because in this video, we're going to take a hard, honest look at what unfolds in her emotions when she realizes she's lost you. Not as a game, not as revenge, but as the natural consequence of your choice to stand tall in self-respect. Once you understand this shift, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. 1. The stage of chaos. The very first stage she enters when she realizes you're gone is chaos. But here's the thing. It's not the kind of chaos you can see on the surface. There are no dramatic tears on Instagram Live, no screaming in the middle of the street, no desperate begging. The real chaos is silent. It's hidden. It's the storm she carries inside while wearing a mask of control for the rest of the world. At first, she tells herself a story. He'll come back. He's just upset. He'll text me soon. And maybe she even believes it for a moment. But deep down, something feels different this time. Because you didn't leave in anger. You didn't explode or accuse. You didn't beg for one more chance. No, you walked away calmly, with dignity. And that calmness destroys the illusion she once lived in. The illusion that she always had the upper hand, that you'd always be there holding the relationship together. And when that illusion shatters, panic takes its place. That's the chaos she hides. Suddenly her mind replays the moments she never valued when she had them. The late night talks, the way your presence calmed her storms, the stability you brought without asking for anything in return. For the first time, she sees it for what it really was. Rare, valuable, irreplaceable. But here's the paradox. On the outside, she acts fine. She posts more photos, her smile looks bigger, her captions scream, "I'm better off without him." To her friends, she laughs louder than usual. But when the crowd disappears and she's alone with her thoughts, the silence is deafening. She feels the weight of the text you didn't send, the absence of the voice that once grounded her, the emptiness where your presence used to be. And this is where you'll notice the signs if you pay attention. She spikes on social media, trying to prove she's okay. She checks in indirectly through mutual friends, pretending it's casual. And if you cross paths, she'll act cold, indifferent, but her eyes will tell you a different story. Every move is a reflection of the same truth. She's not in control anymore. What unsettles her most is not that you left, but how you left. If you had begged, she could feel superior. If you had exploded, she could blame you, but you did neither. You chose silence, you chose self-respect, and that calmness shakes her more than any fight ever could. Because for the first time, she sees a version of you she cannot control. And that realization is the seed of chaos planted deep in her mind. The stage of realization. Every storm eventually reaches its breaking point, and when the chaos inside her finally settles, it doesn't leave calm waters, it leaves clarity. Painful, undeniable clarity. This is the moment of realization, the moment she finally understands. You're not just gone temporarily, not pulling back to test her, not bluffing to get attention. No, this time is different. This time, she's lost you for real. And the crazy part? This realization rarely comes in a dramatic showdown. It usually arrives quietly through something unexpected. Maybe it's a song that reminds her of you. Maybe it's a picture she stumbles across late at night. Maybe it's walking into the coffee shop where you both used to sit. Whatever the trigger, it hits her like a wave she can't stop. In that instant, the story she's been telling herself, he'll come back, he still needs me. He can't live without me, collapses. She can't hide behind denial anymore. She can't make excuses. The truth crashes in. He's not here anymore, and he's not coming back. That collapse is brutal. Because until now, her story gave her power. It allowed her to feel like she still had control, like she still mattered in your world. But when reality doesn't bend to her narrative, she has no choice but to face the truth. And here's what stings the most. You didn't walk away in anger or weakness. You walked away with self-respect, with calmness, with quiet dignity. That is a version of you she cannot dismiss. That is a version of you she cannot replace. And with realization comes the flood of memories. She remembers the way you laughed, the way you listened without judgment, the calmness you brought when her world was spiraling, the way you made her feel safe, valued, chosen, not because you needed her, but because you wanted her. Now those memories don't comfort her, they torment her, because they remind her of what she lost, and the bitter truth that she may never feel that way again. So what happens next? She fights against it. She tries to drown the realization with distractions, nights out, endless selfies, meaningless connections. But none of it works. Because the truth doesn't fade, it waits. It shows up in the quiet moments, the drive home, the silence before sleep, the empty space where you used to be. And in those moments, the whisper grows louder. You lost him. He's not coming back. That whisper becomes the soundtrack of her nights. And for the first time, she realizes it wasn't you who needed her. It was her who needed you. 3. The stage of longing. Once the realization sinks in, a new stage begins, the stage of longing. And this one cuts the deepest, because it's not just about missing you, it's about missing the version of herself she was when she was with you. See, when you were in her life, she felt grounded. She felt admired. She felt like a better version of herself. With you, she felt chosen, not out of desperation, but because you genuinely wanted her. That gave her a sense of stability she didn't even realize she relied on. And now that it's gone, the emptiness becomes unbearable. So what does she do? She tries to fight it. She distracts herself with nights out, with social media, with new faces who could never measure up. She fills her calendar, she fills her feed, she fills her time. But no matter how busy she makes herself, the quiet moments always return. The drive home at night, the silence before sleep, the mornings without your message. And in those moments, the truth shows up again and again. She lost you. This longing doesn't stay on the surface. It seeps into her emotions, into her identity. Without you, she feels insecure, unstable, uncertain. The very things she once took for granted now haunt her. She replays the way you made her feel safe, the way you never wavered, the calmness you carried into her chaos. And she knows, deep down, no one else gives her that feeling. And here's where most men fail. When the longing finally drives her to reach out, maybe it's a text, a comment, a random hey, the temptation to respond is strong. You want to prove your worth. You want to remind her of what she lost. But here's the truth. Her reaching out is already the proof. Her longing is already the evidence. You don't need to do anything. If you break discipline here, if you chase, you erase the very power your silence created. That's the paradox. Her longing is both her burden and your confirmation. Because it shows that your value was never in what you begged her to see. It was in the calm, unshakable man you became when you walked away. And nothing is more haunting to her or more liberating to you than that. 4. The shock of absence. Absence hits harder than any argument ever could. When you walk away with dignity, it's not the noise of your words she remembers. It's the silence of your absence. And that silence is deafening. At first, she tries to shrug it off. She tells herself, I'm fine, I don't need him. She throws herself into distractions, more nights out, more selfies, maybe even someone new. But no matter how loud she makes her world, the quiet moments always creep back in. The empty space where your texts used to be. The mornings without your good morning message. The evenings without your voice on the other end of the phone. These little gaps may seem small, but together, they form a void that nothing else can fill. And that void is brutal. Because it's not just about missing you, it's about realizing she took you for granted when she had you. She never stopped to measure the weight of your consistency, the stability you provided, the calmness you carried into her storms. And now, in your absence, she feels the contrast. She notices that other men don't bring the same peace, the same strength, the same presence. Once she sees that difference, she can't unsee it. The impact isn't just mental, it's physical. Sleepless nights, a restless mind, sudden mood swings, constant urges to check her phone. It's biology. Humans are wired for connection, and when a woman loses the security you once gave her, her nervous system feels the shock. The very balance she used to rely on is gone. This shock even shows up in the way she presents herself to others. She posts more on social media, showing off trips, dinners, and freedom. But every post carries a hidden message. Look, I'm okay. Yet the very need to prove it betrays the truth. She's not. Around mutual friends, she slips your name into conversations, pretending it's casual, but every mention reveals the hole you left behind. Here's what really shakes her: the permanence of your absence. She knows men who leave in anger often return. Men who storm out in desperation often come back. But the man who leaves calmly, silently, with self-respect, that man doesn't look back. And that finality creates not just sadness, but dread. Because deep down she realizes, the door isn't cracked open anymore, it's closed. And once that sinks in, she's forced to face a truth she can't escape. Your presence was a gift, and now it's gone. 5. The lessons she can't escape. When the shock of absence settles, something even more painful takes its place. The lessons she can't escape. Because absence isn't just silence. It's a mirror. And in that mirror, she's forced to face herself. For the first time, she can't point fingers at you. You're not there to blame. She has to look at her own choices. The nights she dismissed your effort, the times she took you for granted, the arguments where pride mattered more than connection. And that reflection cuts deeper than any breakup conversation ever could. Because she realizes you aren't the problem, she was. And here's the irony: your absence might even help her grow. Maybe she starts to see patterns she ignored before. Maybe she notices the selfishness, the pride, the way she failed to value what was rare. She may even become a better partner for the next man. But none of that changes the reality that she lost you. No amount of growth can undo that truth. And this is where your power as a man becomes crystal clear. Because you didn't force this realization. You didn't argue her into it. You didn't beg her to see your value. You simply walked away and let the truth reveal itself. That's the power of absence. It speaks louder than words ever could. For you, this stage isn't about gloating. It's not about celebrating her pain. It's about recognizing what your silence teaches. Your presence is not a guarantee, it's a gift. And when a gift is taken for granted, losing it is the most powerful lesson of all. The Stoics often said, you cannot control others, only yourself. That's exactly what's happening here. You didn't control her feelings. You didn't manipulate her into regret. You simply mastered your own response. You chose peace over drama, respect over validation, and discipline over desperation. And that choice created the most unshakable truth. You are a man who doesn't beg for respect, you command it. And she will never forget that. Even if she grows, even if she learns, even if she becomes better for someone else. Deep down, the lesson remains carved in her memory. You were rare, you were valuable, and once you walked away, you became irreplaceable. 6. The rules of detachment. Now let's talk about the foundation that makes all of this possible. Detachment. Most men confuse detachment with indifference. They think being detached means you stop caring, that you harden your heart, that you shut off emotion. But that's not detachment. That's avoidance. True emotional detachment isn't about feeling nothing. It's about mastering your feelings. It's about choosing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Think of it like this. Every man lives inside a frame. That frame determines who leads, who follows, who sets the rhythm in the relationship. Most men give that frame away without even realizing it. She pulls back, he panics, she criticizes, he defends, she threatens to leave, he begs, his emotions dance to her music, but when you detach, the music stops. You no longer react to her terms. You no longer orbit her mood swings. Instead, you stand calm, centered, unmoved, and that shift changes everything. So how do you live with real detachment? There are 4 rules. Think of them as your compass. 1. Silence over desperation. Never break your peace just to prove a point. Let silence speak louder than words. Sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. 2. Purpose over distraction. Fill your life with goals, growth, and mission. A man who is driven by purpose has no time for emotional games. 3. Boundaries over arguments. Well, don't waste your energy explaining yourself endlessly. State your line once, then stand by it calmly. 4. No half measures. Never return halfway if the standard isn't met. Don't go back just for comfort. Only go forward when respect is real. These rules aren't about her, they're about you. They protect your dignity. They keep your frame intact. They remind you that your emotions are supposed to serve you, not enslave you. And when you live by these rules, something powerful happens. Her buttons stop working. The games lose their grip, the control disappears, and she's left with a truth she can't escape. You are a man she cannot manipulate, only respect. The Stoics called this sovereignty, power over yourself. You can't control the world, you can't control her, but you can always control how you respond. That's detachment in action. And once you master it, you stop being the man who chases validation, and you become the man who commands it. 7. When she reaches out, the 3 green lights. Now, gentlemen, let's address the question that every man wrestles with during no contact. What if she reaches out? Should I reply? This is where most men stumble, because the temptation to answer that late-night hey or that casual emoji is almost unbearable. But here's the truth. You don't break discipline for crumbs. Not every message deserves your time, and not every knock at your door deserves to be answered. There are only 3 situations, 3 rare green lights, where replying makes sense. Anything outside of these, silence is your greatest weapon. Green light number 1, a real apology. Not a vague "I miss you," not a lazy "hey stranger." A real apology takes ownership. It names the wound. It shows humility. Something like, "I know I hurt you when I dismissed your effort. I see now how much you gave, and I didn't appreciate it. I'm sorry." That's not manipulation, that's accountability. And even then, you don't rush back. You can acknowledge her words without erasing the past. Green light number 2, specific change. Words are easy. Promises are cheap. If she's serious, she doesn't just say she's changed, she shows it. Maybe she tells you she started therapy to work on her issues. Maybe she explains how she's addressing the exact patterns that broke things before. That's different from breadcrumbing for attention. A clear, tangible change is the only proof that matters. Green light number 3, respect for your boundaries. This is the rarest one. If you told her not to contact you for trivial reasons and she actually honors that, then when she finally does reach out, it carries weight. Respect is shown through restraint. If she's calling you non-stop, spamming your inbox, or trying to manipulate you, that's not respect. That's desperation. And desperation doesn't deserve your energy. Understand this. Most messages you'll ever get don't meet these standards. Most are just tests, hooks, or traps to see if you're still orbiting her. If you fall for them, you hand back the power your silence built. That's why silence must remain your default. Even when one of these rare green lights appears, you don't reply with eagerness. You respond with composure. Short, calm, measured. No gushing, no begging, no rushing back. Your reply isn't an invitation, it's a filter. A test to see if her actions truly align with her words. Because a man with discipline doesn't answer to attention, he answers only to respect. 8. The Stoic discipline. At this point, it all comes down to one thing: discipline. The kind of discipline the Stoics lived by. Because here's the truth, most men break too soon. They think a single hey means she's changed. They see a late-night message and mistake it for love. But the Stoics taught a timeless principle. You cannot control others. You can only control yourself. And this is where your strength is tested. Stoic discipline means you don't respond to crumbs. You don't confuse attention with commitment. You don't give energy to manipulation dressed up as affection. Instead, you control the only thing that ever belonged to you, your response. And sometimes the strongest response is silence. Think about it like this. When you argue, when you beg, when you chase, you still give her power. Even negative attention feeds her need for validation. But when you're silent, that silence is louder than any speech. It says, I'm not waiting, I'm moving forward. My value doesn't depend on you. That message cuts deeper than anger ever could. Because silence is clarity. Silence is self-respect. Silence is strength, and this is why discipline is everything. Without it, men collapse back into the same cycles, texting too soon, not trying to prove their worth, hoping to win her back with words. But when you hold the line, you send a different message. You show that you're not just another man orbiting her world. You've built a world of your own. The Stoics called this sovereignty, the ultimate power of ruling yourself. You can't control her feelings, her regrets, or her memories. That belongs to her. But what belongs to you is your peace, your mission, your standards. And when you choose to guard those, you become unstoppable. So let me ask you, do you want to be the man who dances to someone else's rhythm, or the man who sets the rhythm himself? Because once you master Stoic discipline, you don't just survive heartbreak, you transcend it. You stop living for validation, and you start living for purpose. And here's the irony. The moment you no longer need her validation is the exact moment she begins to crave yours. That's the power of discipline. That's the Stoic edge. 9. The final reminder. Gentlemen, let's bring this full circle. You've now seen the journey she goes through when she realizes she's lost you. The chaos, the denial, the storm of emotions, the shock of absence, the painful lessons, and finally the respect that comes from your silence. But here's what you must never forget. This journey was never about her. It was always about you. Too many men waste their lives begging for scraps of validation, chasing women who never truly valued them, pouring out effort only to feel invisible. But the man who chooses differently, the man who chooses silence over desperation, boundaries over arguments, purpose over distraction, and dignity over drama, that man becomes rare. He becomes impossible to replace. The Stoics taught us a timeless truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the essence of everything you've heard today. Her feelings, her regrets, her longing, that all belongs to her. What belongs to you is your discipline, your peace, your mission. And once you choose to live from that place of strength, you stop being the man who can be lost, and you become the man who sets the standard. So let me remind you, you are not the one who begs for respect. You command it. You are not the one who needs validation. You choose purpose. You are not the one who chases. You are the one building. And when you live this way, you don't just become harder to lose. You become unforgettable. And maybe right now you're listening because you've been through the pain of giving too much, of being overlooked, of chasing until you felt empty. If that's you, let today be the turning point. Let this be the moment you draw the line, hold your frame, and live with the calm dignity of a man who knows his worth. Because in the end, the man who holds the line doesn't just win respect, he rewrites the story. And he never has to prove his value again. So brother, drop a comment below. Write respect over validation. Subscribe if you haven't already, because this channel isn't just about dating advice. It's about timeless wisdom, Stoic strength, and living life on your own terms. And share this video with a brother who needs to hear it. Too many men are lost in the noise. You can be the one to give them clarity. Remember this, you are not replaceable. You are the prize. You are the man who writes the story, not the one who breaks it.